if you start taking that mindset and that approach to life, that attack the hill mindset, you are going to be more dominant in everything you do with your family, your fitness, your finance, and your faith.
Hey, welcome to another episode of The Empire Show. I'm Bedros, and this is an inside look. And today we've got two very special people to me. They are not only dear friends, they are also business partners of mine. We've got former Navy SEAL Ray Kashkar, and we've got U.S. Marine Steve Eckert. And we are about to do a deep dive into what's happening here with COVID-19 crisis. We're going to talk about the project and how the state of men and the state of mind of men, and of course leadership and some fun stories that you guys haven't shared before, and hopefully we'll get to share here. So gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
All right. So Steve, let's start with you. How long ago were you a Marine, and how did you get into the Marine Corps? What made you go down the Marine Corps route?
How long ago? Still am.
Oh, right. That's right. Can you explain that? Because the first time I asked that question, you snapped at me. Can you explain to our audience why you still are?
Well, it sounds like Navies could be former Navy SEALs. There's no such thing as a former Marine. Once you're a Marine, you're always a Marine, and that's what they expect us to live according to the code and the values your entire life. Now, you said, how did I get into the Marine Corps? Because I wasn't exactly living according to those codes and values before the Marine Corps.
So now I've got to ask you to expand on that. How did that unfold?
Well, the Marine Corps gives you have to do a minimum of an 8-year contract, 4 years active and 4 years reserve, inactive reserve. So it's an 8-year commitment you have to make. So it was either that 8-year commitment or 3 to 4 year commitment somewhere else. So I chose the 8-year commitment. Gotcha.
Well, I'm glad you made the right commitment to the Marine Corps. And Ray, I don't think a lot of people know. They see you on my social media. They see both of you on my social media, but I don't think they know how you got into the Marine Corps. Or I'm sorry,
he couldn't get into the Marine Corps. They have height standards.
Right. Into the SEAL program. And guys, I got to tell you, I wish I could wear a helmet cam during the 75 hours of the project and broadcast it live, because
No, there would be no more project after the first class.
But the hijinks between the two of you behind the scenes would be fascinating. The world would just be hooked on that show. These two really do ham it up, and it's like 75 hours of great entertainment for me as we change lives of men. But you decided that you're going to become a Navy SEAL. Was that like a life goal, or did you hear about it? How do you become a Navy SEAL?
Well, I was told I was a piece of shit my whole life. And from all the way from my mother to my friends, just you're never going to amount to nothing, and boo-hoo, poor me. And I went into the recruiters because I was getting in a lot of trouble, and it wasn't judge ordered, but if I didn't make that change, right, we talk about pivoting my life, I was going to be going down the wrong path. Went into the recruiters. It's funny. I actually originally I took my ASVAB test. Bombed it, just horrible.
What is the ASVAB?
ASVAB is an aptitude test you take where it gives you like placement and what you can do in the military. And I didn't place real high. So it was like barber or medic. That was my two things. And I was like, wow, medic to save lives, where I could like cut hair. Okay. Went in and I saw.
Wow, so barber and medic have the same skill sets?
I know.
How does that? You're good with a scalpel? You're good with a scalpel.
I wouldn't want my barber to do any kind of medical stuff on me.
I know, but when I went in there, I was talking, I saw this pamphlet on Navy SEALs. I'm sorry, Steve. And it just looked like this amazing thing. These guys were like bigger than life, and it was like, it's the hardest thing to do in the world. And I can't describe it, but I was like, from that up to that moment, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was just kind of like this aggressive kid that was really good at stuff, but I was always looking for more. And I was like, that's it. And that's what I wanted to do. And then I said, hey, even the fucking recruiter, pardon my language, said, I don't know if this is for you. And I'm like, oh, this is for me. And it took me a while to get there, but I did it. So, the journey, it made it worth the while.
Well, so you fast forward, I don't know how many years now for each of us, and I don't know, probably for like at least a decade plus for all of us. And then we kind of stumble upon each other. Steve and I met because Steve, you're also a gym owner out in New York, even though you live in California. You run your gyms in New York remotely. You were in my 7-figure formula mastermind for how many years?
In there for about 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
And then just other programs before that and online stuff before that.
Yeah.
So several years even before the actual mastermind.
Yeah, and then through the mastermind, we met, connected, and out of the blue, this guy goes, hey, I think I want to move to California, and so I want the next 12 months of my coaching to be on how I'm going to move to California and run my gyms in New York. And I was like, well, why do you want to move to California? He's like, well, it's the sun, the palm trees, and if I can run my business from California, why not? And so right around that time, I'd written my book, Man Up, and it was coming out. And as the book came out, there was a lot of people buying it. And I talked about these 6-week challenges that I would do. And I really pushed myself and during the 6-week period and see what I was made of. And it would build mental toughness, emotional resilience, and kind of really take me mentally, physically, emotionally to a new level. And people would reach out to me and be like, hey, you ought to consider doing these challenges for more men who need to level up. And I was like, well, man, if I did it, I would need someone like Steve, who's just like this programming machine where fitness is concerned. But I would also need, like if a perfect world, I'd need a Navy SEAL. And then I would need someone who could teach combatives. And in my head, but every time someone would send me messages, I would just kind of, just go do the challenge on your own. Go figure it out. I punished myself for 6 weeks. Go do it on your own. But it was a recurring theme. And when you moved out to California, I remember asking you, like, hey, if something like this was to happen, would you be a part of it? You were like, yeah. Well, that December, I meet you.
Yeah.
In Florida, and we're both speaking in Miami, I think.
Yeah, we were in
both
Miami,
speaking at an event. And I think we did a mic check because we're speaking the next day, and then you're like, hey, let's go to the bar.
Yeah.
And you introduced me to the stuntman. What is a stuntman?
Well, the stuntman I was always told it's old Navy tradition. It's where, obviously you take the basic ingredients of tequila, the salt, the lemon, and the tequila. But you snort the salt, drink the tequila, and then rub the lemon in your eye. And I think after a few of those, we just kind of, things escalated quickly when we met.
Sounds very normal.
Very normal. But we really hit it off. We had a lot in common. We were talking. And
a lot in common. You're both puking out of your eyeball and snorting snots out.
I do have to say, I don't think the first, did I do it with you there, or did I do it the next time we hung out, which was in Southern California at the sushi joint?
I think I did a couple in front of you.
Yeah.
And you were like, what the?
Yeah, I was like, this
But
guy's
then
questionable.
afterwards, when I came
You thought there was a
out,
roofie in there, so you
that's
said,
when
no, you
were
just
like,
show me how it's
yeah,
done.
okay, I get it. This is legit. So I think you probably looked it up and did some research.
Yeah, and I got to say, it was one of those things where, again, we hit it off quick, just like with Steve. And then, interestingly enough, it's like, all right, so I've got the guy who can program. I've got the guy who can kind of really, really teach and structure this thing. And by the way, Erin and I were working out, and he goes, hey, how cool would it be if we can create something for men where they don't just have to have superficial conversation? Hey, what sports team do you like? How's the weather? What are you into? Like, men could really go deep and develop a brotherhood and stuff. And he's like, how cool would it be if there was some kind of a project like that? I was like, yeah, some kind of a project like that would be awesome. And people ask me, like, what do you call it, the project? It's like, well, Erin and I just kept referring to it while we were working out as a project. And I'd never even though he's the VP of our supplement company, I didn't know that he had a history of MMA and jiu-jitsu and all that. And as we talk about that, I'm like, all right, so now I've got the Marine who's a programming, just brilliant programmer for where fitness is concerned. I've got the SEAL who can create this entire 75-hour experience. I've got someone who can teach combatives. And then, of course, Snyder, who's upstairs now in Southern California, he was a dude that I met in Idaho, and he ran a kill house, which maybe one of you can explain what a kill house or a shoot house is to our audience, since you guys have a military background.
A kill house is, close quarter combat, close quarters defense, CQC, CQD. Kind of the reference is when you go into a room of the unknown, SWAT do it, military forces of all natures do it, and you want to create, it's called violence of actions. The element of surprise. You want to go in and establish dominance and, take control of the room, utilizing angles and corners to your advantage while working as a team, and you can do it both audible and non-audible. So it's a lot of communication and teamwork just all bunched into one. It's an amazing, amazing thing, especially when you start doing what's called dynamic room entries, where you're using breaching charges and you can let the dog in. It's really cool, and it always ends up working out great for us because we're very everybody from the SWATs to everything that we do, we're so educated on it that, like I said, you add that violence of action. Don't bet against us because we're never going to lose.
Yeah. And so to that point, our friend Matt was he was a cop in Boise, Idaho, and then became a SWAT officer, and then stopped doing that and opened up his own kill house or shoot house. And a mutual friend of ours said, "Hey, why don't you take Andrew up there and have a good time? And he'll take you through a shoot house experience with pellet guns, obviously not with real guns." And we did. Well, a few months later, I sent him my book in the mail. When the book came out, he reads the book. He texts me. He goes, "Hey, what's it going to take for us to work together?" And I was like, "Hey, Matt, I don't know anything about shoot houses or what you do with SWAT, so I don't think I can help." I thought he was asking, like, could I start a shoot house franchise or something? I go, "I don't know anything about any of that, man, but, have a good life." And he goes, no, I want to come out there and work with you, work for you. I was like, holy shit, let's get on the phone. And so now I've got, like, the entire instructor cadre. And without a website, without anything, we launched the project. And it's one hell of an experience. And Steve, you've done such a good job of explaining to the project candidates as they're going through it what it is and what it's going to produce for them. Like when someone asks you on the street, "Hey, what is the project?" What do you tell them?
Tell them basically it's a personal development program for men, a 75-hour or 4-day personal development program for men where they get the chance to learn, live, and train with a United States Marine, a Navy SEAL, a SWAT officer, an MMA expert, an empire builder, where we're pouring literally decades and decades of knowledge into you so that you can level up and become a better husband, father, entrepreneur, business owner, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And it's an experience in just a few days that you're getting so much knowledge and growth, it's equivalent to years and years of training. We're literally pouring into them every second. It's a force multiplier in their life.
Now, not everyone that goes through the project, though, I mean, just the way you described it sounds really lovely and awesome, and every guy's probably like, well, shoot, I'd love that, to get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of knowledge and wisdom from experts in their, what do you call it, subject matter experts?
SMEs, yes.
Yeah, right, in their areas, in 75 hours, I'll take it. But you personally have made people quit.
Oh, that's my job. That's what if I have one God-given gift, it's to make people quit at stuff. I don't know why that is, but that's what he's given me because that's my job there, is to put them on that block and draw that line in the sand. You're either going to be with us or you're going home, one or the other. We need to test them and challenge them that way, right? To make sure they have what it takes. We don't want someone to be able to wear that logo that's not capable of being a modern day knight like we talk about. And the only way to do that is to completely break them down. Now in Marine Corps boot camp, we have 13, 14 weeks to break them down. 75 hours, we need to accelerate that.
And so to that point, the quitting process is modeled after the BUDS program that SEALs go through.
Yes.
And BUDS is what? Basic Underwater Demolition?
Basic Underwater Demolition. It's a 6-month course that's broken down into what's called PTR, which is a kind of an introductory phase, and then you have first, second, and third phase, which is first phase, the milestone is Hell Week, where you stay awake for 5 days. You average about 30 minutes of sleep in 5 days. Second phase, you have what's called pool comp, where they literally, you have to go through procedures, SOP, standard operating procedures, to don and undon like your gear underwater. So pretty much it's like you're wrestling alligators and crocodiles to survive. And then third phase is obviously the demolition, where you have to do like time fuse calc and you have to work with explosives, and that's where we hone in all of our skill sets with patrolling and our tactics out at San Clemente Island. So that's roughly about 6 months just to get through that, to have the honor to say that you graduated BUDS, yes.
And so when I ask you to really build out the process, and we'll go through the 3 phases of the project in just a moment, how those break down. You brought in this beautiful brass bell.
Yes.
That, the first thing you said to me was like, do not ever ring it. And
That's
so
right.
even when we carry it around, BK Strength, because for that 75 hours, BK Strength, my private gym and garage in the back, turns into the project compound.
Exactly.
What's the significance of when BUDS candidates ring the bell? Like, is it voluntarily? Are they told to go ring a bell? How does this work?
It's voluntary. So BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition, is a volunteer, you volunteer to go to it. But obviously you have to meet requirements and get the checks in the boxes to make it. We use the same applications. We apply pressure physical, mental, emotional pain. We deprive you of everything. Food, you know as well as I do. Sleep. We take everything away from these men so that we can break them down to the bare minimum. So like when we do it's something called Steel Pier, where we're out there just in our like little silkies freezing at night, like that's just us. I mean, we're freezing, we're sticking to the steel. Literally, you have to go somewhere that you've never gone before. And that's why we still have attrition rate at what, I think it's almost 50%?
50%.
50% of people who aren't willing to take that leap of faith and believe in themselves. And the biggest question I always have afterwards is I ask somebody, if you wanted it so much, if you were willing to, let's just forget about the money that you have to spend to come here, but you're willing to give up 3 days of your life, 4 days of your life, why are you so easily influenced to just quit? I mean, we've just told you, I watched you just say, hey, just quit. And they quit. I don't understand, and that's why I think this program it should be mandatory for every male on the planet, because you should not be influenced. You should be the influencer, and it should be of positivity. And that's what I'm noticing. And before I go on, why this program is so unique compared to everything else out there. You know, this isn't a Spartan race. This isn't a SEAL fit. This is, you have to go through checkoffs of pain and emotional discipline, and just you have to bring up a lot of skeletons just to graduate. And then once you graduate, what's so unique about this course versus any other course is that's when the work really starts, just like in BUDS. Once you graduate BUDS, you're not a SEAL. Then you have to do other things. And what you're constantly doing, and how, you know, we sat down and talked about this, is, you know, we have weekly check-ins. You have to constantly hone in those skills, right? Being the best version of you is a perishable skill. And if you don't apply it, you know, every day of the week, then, you know, like we talked about the samurai sword, just because you sharpen a sword and hang it up on the wall, it doesn't mean it's going to be sharp. You have to sharpen it every day. And that's what's so unique about what we do, because we have, you know, we have getaways where we gather and we get together and we break bread, and we have dive buddies. You know, I have a dive buddy that I rely on, and this is a lifetime brotherhood. This isn't something, I mean, we all have the same exact tattoo right here. Everything is based off of tradition, and you have to earn that tradition. Otherwise, we will have a review board, which we've talked about with some individuals, and even though they graduate, just like in the SEAL teams, if you're not maintaining that level of excellence, and I don't want you to maintain it, and, you know, working for you, you can't just, you have to exceed it, then you're going to get cut. And that's why I believe in this so much, because we are making the best version of people, men, that they can be.
So let's talk about that, because I think I have probably one of the funnest roles during the 75 hours, because I naturally am a bit of a Papa Bear. I want to take care of people.
It's disgusting.
And I know that makes Steve sick to his stomach.
I love when you come in, it pisses him off. I love it.
I'm the Papa Bear. And Steve, you truly do have a gift of getting people to quit. But really, they're the ones making the decision.
Not to get them to quit. I want to make sure it's not. The goal isn't to make them to quit. The goal is to make sure the ones that get through earn the right, as Ray just said, and then they have to earn that title every single day of being a modern day knight. We need to make them earn that title. We need to break them down so we can build them back up. If they're not willing and ready to, then yes, we will make them quit.
So let's talk about that for a moment. Especially you're around like pretty much the entire 75 hours. The rest of us will sometimes take a little sleeping break, a couple hours here and there. You're a beast.
Weakness. Papa Bear has to go in the cave and have some honey.
I've got to comb my hair.
Yeah, well, they say SEALs have pretty hair, so you got to maintain the looks. Why, when people quit, and I've seen a dude quit when he was just army crawling. He was a strength and conditioning coach, paid $12,000 to be there. I'm guessing, I mean, I know I would, if I was going to go do the project, I would tell everybody, like, man, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to come back a new man, a new father, a new husband. I'm going to be a very different leader. I'm going to be my best version. I'm going to maintain that version. Like, I'm going to talk about it. And then this guy was a strength and conditioning coach, paid his $12,000, probably told everybody around him that he's going to come back this new man. And on day one, a strength and conditioning coach. Day zero, which was the first 4 hours of the project, he was army crawling across the turf. And he quit. He raised his hand and said, why is that?
it's not even the physical problem, even though whether or not he was in good enough shape or not, doesn't matter. We've had people in worse shape than him that made it through, right?
Yep.
It is not a physical thing. The physical shit is hard. That's impossible. It's some of the stuff that we have them do is just impossible to do.
And that's by design.
Yes.
I couldn't do something. You can't do certain things for a certain amount of time. No human in the world can. But are you a fucking quitter? That's where it taps into the mental and the emotional. Yeah. The physical part is easy. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. It's just, are you a quitter is what it comes down to. Are you emotionally strong enough? Are you mentally strong enough and have enough resilience to fight through it and keep going even when your body wants to stop because your body can't do it anymore? Because the physical part is the easiest part.
So let's talk about a couple of things, and I want your guys' feedback, just your own expert experience. And we don't have to throw out any names of the quitters. I don't think that's cool to do. But let's talk about the guy he ran a massive hospital. It was day 0. We were at the beach. Definitely one of those exercises where it's just designed to fatigue you to no end. It doesn't matter if you're Jason Khalifa, top CrossFit champion. He was going to, at some point, Jason would get fatigued. This guy got fatigued, raised his hand, and he quit. Why do you guys think he quit when he could run a massive hospital with all these doctors under his jurisdiction?
Well, I can start by, let's go back to the onboarding process of this. We actually bring you into a Trainerize, which is a structured workout application where all of us give you detailed PT, right, physical training activities to do daily. Well, what he didn't seem to understand is that we can see who's checking in. Well, I'll let you know a little secret. He wasn't doing it. He wasn't prioritizing things. He was running this big hospital, and he was overweight. That's still not even a factor of it, but he was so good at doing one thing, running a hospital and doing whatever it is with running a hospital, that he just, I think in his mind, he showed up going, well, if I can do that, I can do this. He wasn't prepared. And, and what I can't stand is people that pay the money and they think they're already going to go, have that get out of jail free card. No. I like to see the people, because I'm one of the people that they constantly, we have the WhatsApp, inundate me with questions, inundate me with concerns. Let me help you, because that's the thing. We're not here, even Steve, we're not here to fail people. What we're here to do is we're here to weed out the weak. And that's what we're going to do. So he didn't mentally put in the time to physically prepare, if that makes sense.
So what does that tell us about him, his lifestyle? I mean, what I'm seeing from that is, here's a guy who could run a multi-million-dollar hospital, be the director of it, lots of pressure he can deal with, vendors, he's got doctors, he's got people dying, and I'm sure he's getting questioned why he runs the hospital a certain way. He's got such control there, but look how out of control he was mentally and physically. So is that a successful person who has such control here, but no control in those two areas?
I think he's probably in the wrong, doesn't have a circle of people around him, has probably a bunch of yes men around him, right? No one that's ever calling him out on his bullshit. He's just used to barking orders, telling people what to do, kind of a top-down dictatorship. That's what I'm getting. I don't know that for a fact. That's just what I see it, how I would see it. Because how could someone be that successful in one area, but fall apart in other areas? It's just he's used to that, not used to being told what to do, can't handle it. It's an ego thing, not prepared, thinking that they paid the money. We had another gentleman, not the one you're talking about, ask before it even started if he could bring his wife to the graduation dinner.
Oh, that's right.
Whoa. Don't start talking about a graduation dinner. You haven't even fucking showed up yet, and you're talking about, I knew right off the bat that guy wasn't making it. And surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, he was a dinger.
Yeah.
The people that do that are lacking something in their life. We've talked about it before, the 4 F-bombs, the family, the fitness, the finance, and faith, right? I got it tattooed on my hand. And the thing is just because you're good at one of those things, you can be an A+ student, but if you're failing at the rest of them, that is not you're not going to have a passing grade to show up. And that's why we try to get the candidates ahead of time to come, hey, don't just, pay the money and show up. Like, hey, join up now and let's prep you for our November class. So you can do that self-assessment test on what you're lacking, right? We make you fill out the survey, we read it, and then go, hey, this is what I would recommend you do. We gave him the tools to pass. He just, could it be arrogance? Could it be, I don't know what it could have been. Maybe
could it be self-sabotage? Self-sabotage,
but I think what he did was he was like, I'm so good at doing this that I can just do that. And I'm here to tell you, you have to be well-rounded to come to the project. Even with, everybody has kryptonites. He just had too many of them. And I think a lot of that was, when people do that, to me, their kryptonite is that's an ego. They're not willing to step out of their comfort zone until it's too late.
Yeah.
And he's used to delegating, right? You can't delegate your character.
No.
You can't delegate your fitness and your health. You can't delegate your health. You just can't do it. You could go and pump yourself with all the steroids you want, but if you're still the same mental and emotional wreck that you were, you're not delegating it.
Yep.
Those are two things you can't delegate. And you can't delegate accountability. You can delegate tasks and jobs and even power for someone to do, to take charge. You could delegate leadership, but that doesn't mean you delegated accountability. You still have to be accountable for it in the end, and that's what he I think, believes, that it's just going to be done. It's just a given because I'm used to delegating. I'm in power. There's certain things you can't delegate. There's certain non-negotiables that are up to you no matter what, no matter how big and powerful you get.
And so that brings up another guy who I had come back from my sleep break, and I go, hey, where's this guy?
What?
My sleep break.
The fuck is
Papa
that?
Bear needs a sleep break.
And that's why you come back and they get all happy and they start
By the way-
smiling because they know you're going to come and save them. But you should see your face when I know, because I know when I could see in your eyes when you're ready to go, and I go whisper in their ears. I'm like, you see that look in his eyes? His eyes are getting glassy. 30 minutes, he's out of here. Papa Bear's gone in 30 minutes. You're fucking mine. He ain't coming back till the morning time, and you're gonna be here with me all night.
Was that the class when you like cut out caffeine too?
Yes,
you
January.
were like I live off of
Yeah.
caffeine, you know, and Steve eats real natural. Me, I run off of coffee. Give me coffee.
I did a caffeine detox right in the middle of
and
that
I was
class.
like, I thought to myself, I was like, why in the fuck would you-
Surprisingly, that was the one we had the highest dropout rate because Papa Bear needed to go take his naps. He had no
taking his nap.
caffeine.
He was
I was
like-
like, yes, no caffeine. These motherfuckers are going down.
What you did every time you leave and come back, somebody
More
was
people
gone.
were gone.
They were gone.
And one guy that comes into mind, because I really thought like he had what it took, man. Like he was built. He definitely had that hard look about him. And I'm like, what did you guys do to get rid of this guy? And both of you said nothing. We put him down to sleep. They got their 2 hours of sleep. He sat up and raised his
Two
hand.
times in a row
He said to me,
wake
"Can I
up and drop."
We go and we're causing chaos and commotion, right? Steve is screaming, we're flipping things, and all of a sudden this guy, everybody's up. He's sitting there and he raises his hand. He goes, "Instructor, can I talk to you for a second?" And I'm like, and Steve's yelling, and he sees out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, yeah, sure, come on with me. And he's like, yeah, this isn't for me. And the reason for that, and I told you this before, like in Hell Week, staying awake for 5 days, people think it's insane. It's not. What's insane is laying us down for 30 minutes where we start thinking, where we have to. I don't want to think when I'm going for 75 hours. What's so great about this course is you know exactly how long you have to go. Yes, we don't tell you what time it is, but like if I'm smart enough, I go, okay, the sun's got to come up 3 times. That's all I got to do. In Hell Week, I start losing, you start losing, you get delirious, you lose track of everything. And the thing is I told you, you just got to hang in there. But these guys, soon as you give people time to relax, what do? They get comfortable. And we do this on purpose. Everything that we do, Steve says it, we control the chaos with everything we do. Like sometimes it seems like we don't know what we're doing. Like a lot of times Steve and I are running the chaos. We know we're feeding off of each other. And the trick to being successful with this is you need to know how to redline people at all their emotions, the mental, the physical, emotion, social, and spiritual. And then spiritual, I mean testing themselves. And we redline them, and as soon as we get them to the red, like we have they'll never see it, but we know how to back each other off. Like Steve will be doing something, and I'll interrupt him, or he'll interrupt me, because that's why we always have 2 instructors, because you have to have that 20,000 foot versus the on-ground commander who's just destroying everything. I see when people were pushing that barrier too far, we pull them back, we let them regroup. Even though I seem like I'm being kind, it's actually hard because once we rev them down again, then we're going to build them back up. So we're constantly doing this with them, keeping them right at the peak of their performance.
So it's not, but I still want to get, Steve, let me get your opinion. Like this guy who sat up and got raised attention, instructor, can I talk to you for a moment?
Actually happened 2 times in a row.
Yeah, 2.
Two classes in
Okay.
a row. There was a wake up and drop.
Why do you think that is? Like what's happening in their head since
That's what I was going to say. It's all in their head. They finally had a chance.
they're laying down.
And I just mentioned it about this whole thing is going right now with the whole lockdown. That it's the first chance that someone has. That they're sitting still. They're not able to stay busy and distract themselves with a bunch of other bullshit that's going on. And in their head, they're finally having some self-reflection and some self-awareness and like realizing either I'm a little bitch, I hate my life, I can't do this, I'm not capable of doing this. They start telling themselves all this stuff, and it brings out the worst of them. Instead of during that time of reflection being like, you know what, the last fucking 15, 16 hours of nonstop, This was fucking awesome. I can't wait to get back to this again. This is shit I never had a chance to do in my life. I'm so lucky that I'm able to pay to come here, fly out here, healthy enough to get through this day. That instead of sitting down like that and reflecting on the positive, they let it bring out you either let rough situations bring out the best in you and the worst in you. There's no in between. Because the guys that graduate, that make it to the end, fucking studs.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't, they let that adversity, and it's the same thing going on right now. You see people on social media, either they're being heroes or like stepping up and leading like you're doing right now with your franchise, like out of the, like extraordinary, or just rotten, miserable fucks that are just letting it bring out the worst and worse than ever because they're finally realizing they don't have it. They're jealous of the people that do have it and are stepping up and not crumbling. They don't like their life. They probably maybe don't like their family, even as harsh as it sounds. And they start getting that 1 second to think, and they get stuck in their own head, and they have those patterns of negative talk in their head. And that's exactly what happens with them. They're laying there. They're not sleeping during that time we give them. Right. They're laying there in their own head, and they're done.
So to that point, actually, anyone that thinks that it's 75 hours of straight up physical work, it's not. We have a lot of desk time where I'm teaching entrepreneurism and leadership, and you guys are teaching some really high level stuff, which also gives them a time to refuel and get some coffee, and then of course we start pounding them again. One of the best desk times that I like is the one that you run where they get to ultimately in their battle book. Everyone gets a battle book, a modern day night battle book when they graduate. But they put 3 pictures of themselves in that battle book. Why don't you explain what those 3 pictures are and what it means?
It's the 3 versions of themselves. And this goes right, this perfect feeds right into what we were saying, because they bring out either the best or the worst themselves. It's a picture of them at their worst, their bitch picture, a picture of them at their best, the best version of themselves, that's their knight picture, and then their beast picture. That's just their savage, who we all the men have it in them. It's just in our DNA, who we need to call upon. We need to learn how to control the beast. So it's their bitch, their knight, and their savage. And they put those in there. They actually, we create an avatar for each of those. They describe them. We go real in depth and in detail.
We name them, right?
They give them names so that they can actually call upon those. I'll call upon my bitch sometimes to help me get through a tough time. Because you think of yourself as the worst version of yourself.
You mean you call upon your beast?
No, my bitch.
Your bitch.
Sometimes it depends on the situation and what and it's just you'd have a gut instinct, because is that who you want to be again? Is that who you want to this situation? If you don't step up and take charge right now, that's who you're going to be. Picture that bitch in your head. All you got to do is say that name in your head, because you've already done the work and the way that we go real in depth with it. All it takes is just that trigger in your head. That bitch name, that picture of the bitch. Hell no. Who wants it? You want to be the worst version of yourself again? That's all. Sometimes that's all the motivation you need. Sometimes you think of the beast version. Sometimes the knight version. Depending on the situation, you have these triggers that are going to help you through anything. And that's all that. Unfortunately, that gentleman didn't even make it to that portion. That's on, I don't even know, day 2 or whatever it is, day 9 or 10. Feels like that, right?
It's on day 9 of a 4-day experience. Yep.
So that's what we teach them, how to call upon those. So when they get back to those moments, when they get back to the viruses and they're stuck at home, call upon those. Call upon the knight. Call upon the beast when it's time to. Don't go back and revert to the worst version of yourself. Learn how to trigger the best version of yourself.
So I don't want to give away any of the evolutions, because that's kind of the secret sauce that we use. And I don't want to really ruin the experience for any men who are watching this and listening to this who are going to come and experience it. But let's talk about one of the evolutions, physical evolutions, that I think really gives people a big aha moment, which is attack the hill. The attack the hill evolution is one of my favorite ones, because these guys, we give them all backpacks, and those backpacks are loaded up with some crazy stuff, body bags and shovels and stuff that they're going to use. And of course, later on, they have heavy logs that each weigh about 200 pounds and giant battle ropes that they carry around in these hills that we hike out here. But right when they're tired, as we get to a hill, as instructors, you guys have them charge up those hills. And I find it fascinating, because as I'm watching, as we're going, and I'm watching, and I'm always observing, as we're going on a straightaway, you can just hear them muttering to themselves. And some people are positive, some are negative. Some you hear the bitch negotiation begins, and others are starting to summon up the inner beast. But they're all tired and fatigued and slumped along when we're just walking straight on a level ground. Yeah. And then we get to the bottom of a hill, and you guys make them attack the hill. Yep. What is the purpose of that?
Let me take that. Oh, the weight and the hill is representation of life. And what we've been trying to do, and what I try to do, is I want to reverse engineer the way people think. So like you said, people usually just stroll through life, right? In the perfect world, it's nice, calm, straight gradient. But then when they see the hill, what do? They slow down, they make excuses, they try to find ways around it, and they walk up the hill. And then what most people do is they let gravity, external sources, control them going down. And my motto to that, my mindset is, fuck it, fuck you. No, that's not how it's going to work, B. It's, you know what, I see this hill, right? I want to be the best at what I'm going to do. And the thing, how I like to reverse engineer things is, you know, we've talked about this before. I love doing burpees. I love doing pull-ups. People hate doing things that are hard, and there's got to be a reason. But the thing is once you master it, I see why they didn't want to do it, because the journey to get there is hard. But then once you're to the top, it's like, okay, what's next? So we started doing that. We just all were talking about it one day, and you know, the candidates are just walking along and they're bitching, and we run up the hill. They don't get it the first time, and they go down. We do it again, and finally, something in their head clicks and goes, why are these guys running up this hill? Well, I'll tell you why you run up the hill. The thing is you guys are meat eaters. You know, you're beast. You're not. Bitches walk up the hill. Beast attack the hill. They get to the top, and when they get to the top, they control the descent, right? Because a lot of injuries will happen if you run down the hill. That's where you get injuries, because you're letting something control you. My thing is just control the outcome of your destiny. And this is what I'll tell you. We can actually do another drill. You can walk up the hill and run down it, and I'll run up the hill and walk down it, the opposite, and I'll beat you every time. And the thing is once you get to the top, what's so great about that is you haven't accomplished jack shit. What you do is you have to regroup. That's why I walk down, and I'm looking for another hill, because if you start taking that mindset and that approach to life, that attack the hill mindset, you are going to be more dominant in everything you do with your family, your fitness, your finance, and your faith. And the people that need to come here, the people that succeed the most, are the ones that start attacking the hill. And we've had men from 22 to 55 who have led their life by doing just the opposite. They were walking up the hill, or worse, they were trying to find an alternate means. Fuck that, B. You got to run up the hill and come down it.
And imagine if you took that approach and that mentality of everything in life, everything that everyone else was afraid of. Times got hard, the fucking virus and pandemic, and everyone else is running away from it. There's gunfire. Imagine if you're the only one running towards gunfire, because the average man is cowering and hiding away because it's scary, it's hard, it's difficult. Imagine if you had that mentality of attacking the hill. You know what that makes you? If you're willing to do what everyone else is afraid to do, and what everyone else is scared to do and not willing to do, that makes you unbeatable. It makes you fucking bulletproof. It makes you you'll be the last one standing when the dust settles. You will be the only one standing to then just dominate and be a modern day knight.
Yeah, and be that fuck it, fuck you. When I say that, like if you told me to run up the hill, I'm going to say fuck it, fuck you, but I'm not saying that to you. I say it to myself mentally. It's like, fuck it, I'm here. I just made the commitment, you know, I know it's time to invest in myself, so fuck it, I'm here. I might as well just absorb this knowledge. And the fuck you, this is what people don't understand. The fuck you is what I'm saying to myself.
To that inner bitch.
To that inner bitch, because, you know, I was like that for the longest time until I finally accepted that I was a bitch. Even as a Navy SEAL, I still had bitch qualities until I just used that mentality to start attacking the hill with everything. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here with you guys right now, 2 mentors, 2 friends, entrepreneurs, 7-figure business owners, if not 8, when I'm a dumb Irish kid, because I just literally said, you know what, enough's enough. I am not going to hold back anymore. I'm going to take chance, and I'm going to attack every hill that I go at, you know. Phone calls with Gunnar Peterson, just, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do. Meeting people, going out, creating new relationships, and this program is exactly designed to do that. Whatever you set your goals to, what you learn in these 75 hours, what these guys teach you, not just me, you can apply to anything in your everyday life.
And it's one of those things where, you know, I had a guy reach out to me on DM actually right before we started this on Instagram. He said, hey, $12,000 for 75 hours, like that's a little steep. And I was like, well, you know, if you graduate, it's $12,000 for the rest of your life because you're part of a brotherhood. And I said, this July, we're all going to Vegas, assuming Vegas opens up. If not, we'll find another place to go. So, but we're all meeting up in Vegas and spending 2.5 days in Vegas, like hiking in Red Rock and playing Topgolf and having a good time, you know, hanging out in the pool cabanas and just really building each other up. Like you're part of a brotherhood of some elite dudes. From entrepreneurs to dudes that have been in the military to one dude who's a Google executive who's in the modern day night brotherhood. And so to that point, of course, one thing we quickly found is, as now we're going into class number 05 of the project next month, as some of these men were graduating and they have businesses, they started to reach out to you guys and were like, hey, you know, now I want my employees to get a dose of this. I want my employees to be able to have direct communication, to be able to be emotionally tough, mentally resilient, be amazing leaders. So I want them to be able to lead themselves and lead my business and my clients and customers. And so out of that, you created the LTD Project, Leadership and Team Development, where you guys have flown out to many different businesses and worked with teams. What is the LTD Project all about?
Well, it actually started by after the project graduates, they would graduate, they'd go back with this whole new mentality of operating, and they would call us, not asking us to come out at first, they'd call us with their struggles, with their problems.
Right, yeah.
They're like, I'm a whole new person, I've developed myself, I've elevated myself, but my team doesn't get it. They don't get it. They're not on that same wavelength. What do I do now? Now I'm fucked because I can't even stand to be around them anymore because I'm operating at such a high level, high octane freaking jet fuel, and they're putting syrup in their gas tank, so what do I do? And we said, you know what? You've left them behind. We need to level them up. We need to get them thinking the same way as you can. We talked about it and we said, you know what? Let's start going out there and giving them the team leadership and teamwork. They're basically getting a lot of the traits and a lot of the lessons learned from the project without the hanging by the nuts.
Yeah, without the beat downs and the deprivation of sleep and food and all that stuff.
But we still expose weaknesses and deficiencies, and that's our key. We go in there and we call companies out for what they're doing wrong. And what's so unique about that, what we do is we bring the battlefield to the business field to the home field. You can apply all three applications to everything that you do. But what I love is Steve and I'll go in there, you know, and we focus on the 4 pillars of success: teamwork, problem solving, leadership, and communication. Just like the 4 F-bombs: family, fitness, finance, and faith. And what we do is we have drills, hands-on applications, which can be customizable. Steve is a master programmer where it can be physical or not physical, depending on the crew. And what we do is we hit each one of those pillars, because what we do is we reach out to the CEO beforehand, and then we send surveys out, and we try to see where we're seeing some overlapping fields of fire where there's issues. So Steve and I collect that data and we go, okay, sir, your company, you know, we came out to you, and this is what we're seeing we need to do. This is how we're going to attack this hill, and we do this. And what we do is we want the CEO there to see where they're lacking in the communication, the problem-solving, teamwork, and communication, and that's great. But then what we do is then we apply applications and drills and homework that you can do to better yourself, because it would be no good if we just went there and told you what you did wrong.
Sure.
And a lot of companies do that. You know, you're fucked up. Okay, great. Now, but how do I fix it? That's why I hired you.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We come in and we fix the problem.
Let's talk about that for a moment. When a company hires you guys to go out there, whether it's for a full day or 2-day experience, and I know it's very customizable because you guys did this for our Fit Body Bootcamp staff, and it was a really fun experience for them. They enjoyed it. There's so much learning they got out of it and teamwork. How often, because I imagine, now I know better because I work with you guys within the project, and I always assume that I just show up with a white belt, like I'm not the best leader yet, I'm going to become better, and so I always know that 99% of the time I'm probably the problem. But how often do people reach out to you saying, come and fix my team? Like, everything's good with me, I'm a good leader, they're just a stupid team, come fix them. And what do you guys find in that scenario?
We'll still send out the surveys, and the surveys will come back with data that we're pretty certain was going to happen, that usually where the leader thinks that their team sees them, it's very conflicting, and that's
Really?
and we'll present that with them. And sometimes we'll even tell the CEO they should participate in it, because a lot of times they should be in the trenches with them, because maybe they've been too far detached and they've lost the feel of what's going on in their company. They've lost really the touch with it. They don't have that touch anymore. So that's what we do, is even show them that data. Like, you think you're this great high leader, let's see the people that you're leading, because if you're a great leader, they would agree with you. Or if you're a great communicator, or you're a great problem solver, or whatever else it is, if you're empathetic, we have a whole long questionnaire we send them, and we send it to all the participants. And we also ask the leader where they see themselves with all this stuff, and we see where it's conflicting, and that's how we'll base the program off of it. And who else is calling that leader out on their bullshit? Yeah. We're not afraid to do it.
Right.
That's our job. That's what we're paid to do. That's what they want. Most of them want us to do it, because most of the people that have us come out there, they know that they have the wherewithal to know that they're lacking in some areas. That's why they have us come out there. The ones that think that it's not them really don't even have us come out higher. They're the ones that need us the most. But a lot of times after we go through the interview with them, oh no, I could do that for them myself. They think that's what they would think. It's the ego of that.
The ego.
And I like what you said from a martial arts standpoint. You have belts, which is levels, right? You have white, blue, purple, brown, and belt. And then you usually have 3 stripes per. Well, the CEO considers himself or is a black belt, and he worked his way up there. But I like your approach is, hey, I'm a CEO, but I'm still a white belt in training, or I'm a blue belt in training. What happens is these guys get to this level, we've noticed, and they don't use those skill sets anymore. And like we talked about, it's perishable. So in their eyes, they're a black belt, but maybe their team's looking at them like, what the hell are you doing? You don't know what the hell you're doing, or you're so one-dimensional with your thinking. And a lot of CEOs that we've noticed cannot stand criticism, but we tell them, when we come in here, we're going to give you an outside perspective on things. And here's the thing, we don't care if you like it or not. We're subject matter experts in this, and obviously we're going to do it politically, but we're going to tell you what the problem is, even if that problem's you. And, sometimes it's a gut check for CEOs. And we told, hey, remember when you were down here and you were working your way up, Like me, I'm new to the business world. I love criticism. Tell it to me. You got to drop the ego. That's the main thing we tell you. You got to drop the ego and the attitude. And you just got to get back to, like I said, you're not the CEO of a company. You are a CEO, or you're the team leader, and you have troops or you have soldiers. It's one team, one fight. And you've got to have that mentality to be successful.
Now, is there a couple of areas that when you guys go into a business that you can almost pinpoint and say, all right, we're going to do this with their employees, and this is the results they're going to get? Is there a couple of areas that that every business who has employees need fixing or educating on?
Communication. Always communication. There's always communication problems. There was Harvard studies. Ray knows some of these statistics better than I do, but what was the biggest problem even with the CEOs? And it was their self-awareness. They thought they were great communicators. They thought they were great leaders. And again, the study showed, because the study's been done not even just by our surveys, it's been done massively, like tons of industries. They don't have the self-awareness to realize that they are poor communicators. And communication is always the huge one. What's the stat for communication for the businesses? Over
85% of businesses fail because of not poor leadership, but because of poor communication.
Oof.
And what we do is we go in there, and I have a drill, and I've done it with every team. I have a communication drill with the CEO standing there. I give them 4 words, and I said, you give me 20 people. 20 people, if not, we make it smaller. You will not pass this. We have done this, I don't know how many times, all across the country. Not one company has passed it. And not one company will. Because the CEO lives sometimes with these blinders on, thinking, oh, just because I put out a corporate email once a week, people are reading it. I could give you statistics on how many emails are read start to finish. I even have a drill for that, for the CEOs, and they're like, I can't do that. I'm like, do it. And see who's going to confront you on what you wrote wrong, hint, hint, wink, wink, and see if they do that. Because if someone cares about you and you have that mission, they're going to come up and say, excuse me, sir, just so you know, you mistyped something, or you put the wrong word in this. Thank you. At least you know. I mean, is it extreme? Yes, but sometimes you need extreme, because we've been to companies where we've had junior employees that have been there for 6 months. They don't know they don't know what your core value is. They don't know how many revenue streams you have, and what else?
Or even what the revenue streams
are. Or even
are.
what the revenue streams are. Like, hey,
that's straight up dangerous.
We own Fit Body Boot Camp. So it would be like me working here for 6 months, you saying that you may have 4 or 5 different revenue streams, and me going, I've been here for 6 months. He has one revenue stream, selling memberships. As a CEO, you should go, what the fuck? What do you mean? So my thing is people don't have your core value. They don't know what your core values are, and they don't know how many ways that you are able to make money. How are they producing for you the way that they need to be? And then as a leader, we're going to go in and go, whose fault is that? Is that your fault or their fault?
It's got to be
and
yours.
That's right, right?
Goes back to that accountability. That's
right.
The leader's fault. We've had CEOs on one of the communication drills willing to bet their salary that their team would get it because they were so sure. And it's like about a 20-step process, and their team made it to step 1.
Step 1.
Luckily, I'm not a betting man anymore.
Yeah.
Not only do they get the words wrong, but they're not even the same words. 3 single-syllable words, 1 double-syllable word. I'll even give everybody the secret. 3 single-syllable words, 1 double-syllable word. When we're done, we have over 60-70% of companies that don't even get one of the words right.
That's good.
How are you producing and making outcome if you can't do that?
So let's Let's shift gears for a moment to going back to the project again.
You're laughing. It's got to be good.
Well, in the short amount of time that we've been doing the project, it's coming on to a year now. We've had some hysterical moments.
Oh.
We've had some hysterical moments, and some of those moments can't even be shared here. Just it can't be. When you do the project, you graduate, you don't ring the bell and leave. You'll be privy to those hysterical moments because we always talk about them, laugh about them. So I can only imagine in your military careers, there had to be some hysterical moments that you guys experienced. And having never been in the military, I feel like I've always kind of missed out on that piece. Is there any like hysterical, funny, interesting, weird moments in your military career?
I don't even want to hear Ray's. I don't even want to hear what Ray has to say. I'm curious of what Ray's going to come up with. But it's what Ray and I talked about earlier today, actually, was the harder shit gets when we're in the military. And to think of I'm not sure if I can think of a specific scenario, but every time stuff got harder, the harder the work we have, we're filling sandbags out in the sun, in the desert, in Arizona for 12 hours straight. The more adversity we have, the more fun we have, the funnier we get, the more creative we get. We're cracking jokes more. Like, look on the project, like the brilliance we come up with during the project. We laugh about it. We talk about it for months about the things that go on that we come up with. We don't pre-plan any of that stuff. It's the adversity creates this new level of thought and creativity in you, and like brilliance almost. It's crazy. Like,
it is.
If you go into it with that type of mindset, like the harder shit gets in the military, the more fun we have, the more shit we talk. We're just having a good old time. If someone looks from the outside, they'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with these Marines? They're like being tortured for weeks at a time, and we're sitting there doing it, just cracking jokes, talking shit. It's just having a blast. The harder it gets, the more fun we have. And I just know that would happen all the time. That was like the best times were born off of the worst times.
That's fascinating. How about you? Or some interesting?
I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it.
Well,
cut the cameras.
I'm not going to tell my third phase story that made me legendary, but I will tell this one story. I was a junior guy, and we went to Albania on an ice climbing trip, and it was super, super cold. So what we did was we built like ice shanties. So, holes in the ground. Snow's like 6-7 feet deep, and we made it big so there was like 4 of us in there. I mean, you can build fires, you can do everything under there. And at night, what we do is we heat up those, and I was telling you about the Nalgene bottles, right? You boil water and you put the Nalgene bottle in your sleeping bag and you throw it in there and it keeps you warm. And it's freezing. It's like minus God knows what. Well, one night I had to get up and go to the bathroom. Not number 1, but number 2. And it was so cold that I swore I wasn't going to get up. I was just going to hold it, and I couldn't hold it anymore. So in the middle of the night, listen, I built a small fire, and my lieutenant wakes up to me hovering over top the Nalgene bottle trying to go to the bathroom. So the platoon threw me out it was like literally minus I don't know what, with barely any clothes on. It made me stay out there until I almost froze to death, and then come back in. And my lieutenant told me, if you ever do that again, I will literally kick you out of the
So wait, were you trying to take a shit in the fire or the bottle?
I was trying to take a shit into the bottle, but I didn't want to turn the light on.
So you used
built the fire was in the corner, so I built a little fire real quick. It wasn't hard. And then I guess someone heard me, and my lieutenant, when he got up, he was like, what the fuck? And he just saw a shadow of me hovering over a giant Nalgene bottle trying to go to the bathroom.
There must be shit like this just triggered a story for me. It's fine. There must be shit problems all across the
all
military.
over the world.
Like, it's all about shit. He said this, and a fucking story just from boot camp. I never even thought about this story since then. It's fucking crazy. We're out in the field, like a 3-week out in the field there. So there was a porta shitter right there, right? That we use because you can only shit out. And like, you're doing training, you're not going to shit in the holes all the time for training. So there's one porta shitter for like 50, 60 guys. Middle of the night, you got to get your battle buddy if you want to go take a piss or take a dump or whatever. Someone goes in, whatever. We wake up in the morning, the drill instructors, literally, there's just an explosion. The porta potty's just exploded. Shit everywhere. They're having to clean it up. They're having to fucking deal with it. One of the guys went to go take a shit. I guess it was out of toilet paper in the middle of the night. Was too afraid to go tell anyone about it. Used his jock strap to wipe his ass. Put it in the thing, and it clogged the whole thing up. And the shit went everywhere, all over the place. So he didn't think about it. In the military, what do they do with all your gear?
You label everything.
Fucking dumb fuck. His name is stenciled in it. So when the company finally came and everyone's covered in shit, dealing out, they see this jockstrap with this fucking idiot's name stenciled right across it. So his name, the rest of boot camp, was Shitty Shitty Bang Bang.
Yeah. My moral to the story is, imagine if I would have just attacked the hill, got dressed, got up, and went out and did it. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut corners. And literally, the time that I wasted making a fire, and trying to like, be the bombardier to get it because the hole was only like that big. So I'm like hovering over it, trying to get it done. And it's like
the sick part is I can totally picture that happening like modern day, like today. I can picture him coming up with that today.
And right before the lieutenant woke up, all right, we'll just call him Lieutenant N. I don't want to say his name. He's retired now. He was a Commodore. I'm literally going, oh my God, what am I doing? And what happens if someone wakes up and all of a sudden I heard, what the fuck? And I was like, oh God, I'm dead. And they did. They just literally picked me up and threw me out there. Obviously, I went to the bathroom and I had no clothes on, just like a pair of, you wear silkies so you can stay warm. And I literally almost froze to death. They had a fire waiting for me, but I'll tell you what,
a lesson.
Never again.
What a lesson. What's your favorite evolution from the project?
Oh, that is a tough one. Favorite evolution. I like in the beginning. Well, I don't want to even say what it is. When we first pick them up.
Gotcha.
Their initiation.
Yeah.
First like realizing that they're now under our control.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
it's a shock. It's a shock.
For
to
me,
them.
I know I don't want to say what we do with the ice baths, but it's when they finally let go of the bitch and we make them do something over and over, and every time they come up, we get more. It's more like I see the change, I hear the change, I feel the change, I get goosebumps, and I'm like, it's so rewarding, that we're even with the torture that they're going through their bodies, they block it out and they finally get it. It's like someone turns on a switch.
Similar is the second round of the puzzle sticks.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Not giving too much away.
Yeah.
The first one, they're afraid to get hit, afraid to hit someone, never hit anyone before in their life, maybe, never been hit before, think they're going to die, they don't know what's going to happen. And then the next thing you know, I'm throwing them in there with 2-3 guys, twice their size, and they're just going fucking beast mode. And
helmets they can't see, swinging.
The day before, they were all fucking scared, and now they're just laying motherfuckers out because they realize this is what it's all about. This is how I kill the inner bitch and unleash the beast under my control. Or semi under my control.
What about you? Let me be the interviewer for a second. Hi, this is Ray Kerr, interviewing Bedros Koulian. What is your favorite part of the evolution? What we do?
Well, actually, for me, it is. It's the burial. It's
okay.
The burial, the body bags. I'm sure everyone's wondering, like, what do you mean by body bags? And we put enough videos out there. But when you really think about it, you're born on a certain date, and then you're going to die on a certain date in the future. Mm-hmm. There's that little dash in the middle. Yeah. That put on your tombstone, that you were born on this date, died on this date. And while that dash just separates 2 dates, that dash is responsible for decades of life. And some of those people, the life that they had, was it worth living? Mm-hmm. And others, like, what significance did you have? What impact did you have? Who did you love up? Who did you pour into? Yeah. What did you do to leave a legacy behind? And so that burial that we do where they have to build, dig their own grave and go into the body bag, and we're not going to explain what happens next, but to be able to have that rebirth, like that's when I see the switch flip on every single one of those guys that, like, the next time I'm in that body bag, it's going to be real. I'm going to be dead, and when I am, I'm not going to die with regret.
I love it.
And I think that's one of the things that I like seeing go away, because you can tell every guy that shows up. Listen, like every one of us, like I've suffered in silence. I've given up on things and then regretted quitting things and thinking like, man, why did I quit when it got hard? That's when I should have pushed. That's when I should have gotten hard. I quit when it got hard instead of me getting hard. And that regret can stick with you. Bryce, our VP, this guy, in high school, he was supposed to run something, I forget what it was, like some cross-country thing for his soccer club that he was in. And he just didn't do it, and he gave up on soccer. Something like 11 years later.
He had to make a certain time to get it because the restrictions.
That's what it was.
I heard the story. Then he trained for it, like over in China or something. Yeah.
China.
And he came back and did it.
Because regret will haunt you. Yeah. Guys, regret will haunt you, and I don't care how much you want to use excuses, come up with like, well, here's why I don't have time to do it. My knees hurt now. 11 years later, he trained for it in China while on some kind of school mission. And he did it, and he was like, "I had to get that check that off my list." But the burial is one of the big ones.
On that note, like when I'm doing the calls with some of the potential candidates, and we're telling them the prices, right? And they're saying, "Oh my God, that's so expensive for 4 days." One of the things I tell them, and we're saying, what's one of our favorite parts? Of course, at the graduation, right? I tell them, if you could just fast forward to the feelings that you're going to have when you first sit down at the graduation dinner, just that alone, forget about the ongoing stuff that goes on, that because you were explaining how it's ongoing for a lifetime. Even without that, let's say that didn't exist. Just that feeling, that moment when they sit down, because we see it when they walk in. We get there before them. We see it when they walk in, when they're standing there, their chairs, right before they're about to sit down, and realize that they made it, and realize everything that we've done to them over that last 4 days. Every single thing had a purpose and had a reason and was to better them, to help build them up to who they need to be that modern day knight. That feeling for that split second when they're standing up before they sit down, if you look on their faces, that alone right there is worth, you would pay $1 million for that, just for that feeling, for that one moment, because that one moment is going to change the rest of your life. So that there's no price you could put on that. So when they're standing there, that's a real powerful moment, I think, in the time.
We've saved marriages. We've saved jobs. We've had people take that leap of faith that they want to do. And what I like, what Steve was talking about, obviously at graduation, we're in suits. And when they're standing there behind the chairs, because we don't even let them sit right away, right? Everything is orchestrated and structured, right? That chain of command, the CEO tells them when to sit. They are not the same people. If people can understand, in 75 hours, they're not the same men that showed up. They're more confident. They're more, the regret, they know that, to me, they look like a bunch of lions that you're just ready to let loose. The chest is out, heads up straight. They're proud of, everything, and they understand, we talk about the creed, we make them say it, and they don't just say it, they believe in it. They say it with pride. And what we do is when we let them go, we're letting go a whole, you think it can't be done. That's what I tell people. Buds take 6 months. So it takes you 6 months to become a SEAL. You can become a SEAL whenever you're ready to become a SEAL. And what we've done is we've condensed it into 75 hours. And what we're doing is making people, I tell them the tier 1, the Marine, the SEAL, the entrepreneur, of whatever it is you want to do, it can be done because we've seen it. We've had guys, I'm not going to say his name, up in LA, we'll just leave it at that, who literally said, you know what? I take full responsibility and accountability for the reason why my marriage is in the fucking crapper. He went home. The next day, he saw his wife and said, we're going to counseling. He called each and every one of us, and we've seen them all since then. They're doing great. And that, to me, is the ultimate investment, investing in yourself.
$12,000 for that? Fucking steal. Steal
of a deal. And to that point, we talked about the dinner. It's funny, we talk about how you were just gifted at getting people to quit during the 75 hours of the project, and you bring so much hell, so much hate. I literally see hate. As Papa Bear, I see hate in their eyes as they look at you like,
just go home and take a nap.
But then we do something. No, you.
I do. I feel like
you know what you are. You're a combination of him and me. I think kind of put together. You really do bring the love.
I'm going to make somebody.
I like to say you can't outdick me.
I'm going to make somebody quit at dinner. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show both you guys
right before the steak dinner's over. But to that point, where you see all this hate in their eyes, because you would just have this sadistic way of keeping that punishment going. During dinner, we have all the guys review us, rank us as instructors.
Yeah.
And consistently, every class after every class, they vote you as the #1 instructor that they loved. And I think, maybe other than one time. Was it one time, 2 times? Really?
It's a close.
It's close. It's hard to compete.
But I take the reign because, listen, my goal is to be either 1 or 5, because there's always going to be a percentage to get 5. You'll never get a 5. I'll get my 5s. I'm looking for my 5s.
And I'll tell you what, I'm usually like, 1 or 2. I am up there, but this motherfucker is 1 or 5. There's no.
That's what I want.
That is true.
That is true. No, it doesn't.
And that actually speaks volumes, right?
It does.
That speaks volumes because they realize how much you were able to influence them in that 75 hours, and you guys are constantly in that top. The 1 or 2 spots. But yeah, you're right. You're either 1 or 2, 1 or 2.
I'm kidding.
And you're either 1 or 5. I kind of constantly hold the 3 spot strong.
You're up there a lot of times too.
Yeah, I hold the 3 spot strong.
I think we should reverse roles on the next one.
I know no other role.
This should be like Erin, the philosophical one. And you should be like the crazy one. We'll make Matt the crazy one, and I can just be. I'll be like a mime. I won't say anything.
You won't say anything.
Oh, yeah.
You just mime your way through.
But I think they appreciate it. They realize after, because they get to a point, maybe the 60th hour, where my gifts for those that you could tell are going to make it, it doesn't have any effect on them. They love it. They ask for more of it. They ask for more of it. It doesn't affect it. Like, This is fucking awesome. I'm so grateful to be here. Steve, give me more. This is what I've needed in my whole fucking life. No one came and bitch slapped me and snapped me out of the zombieism that I've been walking through my life with. So they realized that this was done for a fucking reason. Maybe it was done out of a little hate to some people, but in general, it was done for reasons to try and help them and unfuck them. And that's what I think they come to appreciate that. I needed this torture. I needed this ass whooping. I've had my ass whooped before, and I thank the person for doing it.
Case in point, the Graves.
Graves,
Remember the last class? They were digging rock.
Yeah, like on
concrete.
concrete.
They just loved it because they were like, Steve and the other instructors are not fucking with us. And like we could just hear them digging. They weren't
Hitting
resting.
earth. They were just
hitting dirt, just rock. We could see the sparks for hours. We could have left them there for the whole 75 hours. They wouldn't have stopped.
You know, it's funny. Let me share this with the audience, guys. What were the dates? It was March like 8, 9, and 10 or something, or 10, 11, 12?
Yes.
Something like that. Maybe it was 11, 12, 13. But it was right when the coronavirus lockdown was starting to take place, like 2 days after class 03 of the project graduated, the U.S. went on lockdown. And one guy was from the Netherlands. I think another guy was from South Africa. But thankfully, he was able to fly out and go back to the Netherlands. But that particular class, they got rained on. They had no idea that this whole corona thing was like impacting the world in those 75 hours because, all of their cell phones and communication devices were taken away. Like we knew what was going on and we're like, well, fuck it. We have to finish
We're here.
So we jokingly were calling them the corona class. Mm-hmm. So they got rained on. They were in mud. We had them dig their graves. And the worst part of the area that I don't know what got into us. We were like, they're going to dig in fucking asphalt and concrete. And I was thinking, all right, some guy's going to quit before they dig their hole. They just, each time they took a swing with that shovel, they got harder and harder and harder, and somehow they were to build a hole deep enough to get buried in. And that Corona class still, to me, is like the fucking most badass class 03.
I think that shovel is the symbolism, they're chipping away at all the things that they do regret and the anger and the doubt. That's why you see some guys, they get that front sight focus and it could be straight brick and they're going to get there because it's like, you have to dig this hole for your own good, and they will.
Well, think about that. When was the last time you took a shovel at 2 a.m, and if you've done this, don't admit it, because obviously then you've had a massive crime. There's a bigger issue. When was the last time anyone's taken a shovel at 2 a.m. and said, "I'm going to dig a hole deep enough where I could then go crawl into a body bag and be buried alive with a small little pocket of air to be able to breathe and keep my shit together the whole time and pontificate the dash between when I was born and when I died." And to be able to do that, and like you said, chip away of all the regrets, of all your fears, of all your bad decisions, of all that suffering in silence, of all the things that made you into that crop duster, and to know that you have an opportunity to rise again as a fighter jet in life is a big thing. So with that said, if any of our people who want to learn more about the project, you guys just need to reach out to any one of us and you can certainly learn more about the project. But the thing I really think that all the entrepreneurs on here ought to invest in for themselves and their teams is the LTD, the leadership and team development. Like any business owner that has 3 or more employees who's watching or listening to this, if you don't invest in having Steve and Ray come out and work with you and your team, your organization, to help them build better teamwork, problem solving, communication, and leadership skills, you are missing out on massive amounts of money. Where would they go to contact you guys for that?
They can go to the LTDtraining.com is the official website, or they could contact either of us on Instagram. That's usually the best way on the Instagram.
And what's your Instagram?
Steve Eckert, Steve.Eckert1.
And I'm at Ray Cashcare.
Done deal. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on The Empire Show. And if you like this episode of The Empire Show, please do me a favor, take a screenshot. Make sure you tag myself, Ray, and Steve. And of course, leave us a 5-star review. Give us a thumbs up on all the different platforms. And thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you later.